You guys, I made a video that went really wild in the comments. I've never had so many comments, and I just wanted to talk about it just a bit. At this point, anyone who has joined the guild as a screenwriter is no longer able to write. Producers are not able to solicit for any sort of writing from screenwriters that are associated with the Writers Guild of America. And if you are assuming that you can slide in to speak with those producers because you are an unknown name and you can finally get your shot because no one is writing currently, well, the Writers Guild of America says that if you are not on their side supporting their members and supporting their cause, then you are pretty much against them, and so they can therefore ban you from ever getting into the WGA. There is definitely a lot of people who really felt like the WGA did not need to be backed up in the scenario of the writer's strike currently happening in 2023. Now, all of the comments that I received were pretty much a lot of people who wanted to go the independent screenwriter route, which is completely fine. Then there were others who were taking it slightly politically and slightly in a less diverse, very strange way, in which I completely do not support. I just wanted to address this for the people who are genuinely curious about how the strike is impacting writers who are new to the industry, who would like to long-term get into the WGA, and to clarify why this might also impact those who want to go around the industry and go the indie route. My name is Pika Lee, I'm a writer and filmmaker, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the ripple effects of the WGA strike and the video that I actually posted on my shorts that went a little bit viral. Now, what's interesting to me is that a lot of people don't feel that the WGA sets the precedence for the rest of the industry. Whatever the Producers Guild is fighting with the Writers Guild about, and also the Actors Guild about, is pretty much the standard that's going to be set across the full industry. I'm not saying every single independent place is going to actually try to pay people less money, but it's a fact that they won't have as much money as these larger companies such as NBC, Warner Brothers, Disney, Fox, and all of the larger ones that are included in the Producers Guild that are currently not wanting to give a lot of room for AI to be cut out or ensure that writers are getting fair pay. A lot of new writers have very big dreams about going to Netflix because Netflix started with bringing out very diverse content that was not seen before on television, and they started to set this sort of pedestal up for writers to try and get their foot onto. What's interesting to me is that a lot of people think that it doesn't matter if the WGA wins this war because the WGA themselves are terrible people, apparently. Even though they make sure things are fair for writers, such as getting benefits for writers, getting a pension for writers, and of course protecting them from the big giants taking advantage of them as they currently are. Another thing is it's not entirely uncalled for that this is happening at this time, because when a lot of things change in the industry and the standards have not caught up to it, it has to happen at some point. So at this point, we've got streaming that has been taking over for the last few years. It now has a firm grip of the industry, and we don't know too much about how the numbers work within those, but we do know that at this point, they don't want to have large writers' rooms, they don't want to pay certain amounts, and they don't want to give royalties out to the writers. When you're out on the picket lines, you're going to hear older writers say that VHS had the same struggle when DVDs came out. So this means that DVDs were not included in the royalties in the same way that streaming is not included in the royalties. And this I actually learned from the writer of iRobot, strangely enough, when I met him on the picket lines. So I have to assume that at this point, when he tells me that all of his friends who are in the guild are not getting work and are being excluded from certain royalties because of the way that things are set up right now, I understand that he's had much more time in the guild to understand that things do have to change. Whether or not you're in the guild, or you might be getting close to becoming in the guild, or you're just aiming for it as a future goal. Now, people forget that this whole industry is a business. What that means is that most of these larger companies own the smaller companies who might be looking for more independent, indie type films. They're the ones who are in control of what gets paid out to writers. So if you're an indie writer and you're looking into certain specific distributors, or you're looking into certain specific production houses, make sure that at least they're not with these top companies, because they are not going to pay you what is fair to begin with. When you are with their larger monopolized corporation, then they're not going to pay you that much for a smaller project. We already know that independent features cost much less to produce. We know that there is not going to be a fairness to it already because the audience is considered very niche and very tiny. So just make sure that if you're going the route of, I don't want to be part of the WGA and I want to do my own thing, that you're doing the proper research. Crazy thing is that these large companies set pretty much a precedence for the whole industry, because smaller companies will absolutely use what is being paid to actually set your contract to that pricing as well. That is how a lot of people price when they're in businesses, and that is how they also make money off of their projects. Everything is based off of making money back. So they're going to want to pay you the least amount, as they do have to pay everybody else in the production. Make sure contracting is always put through an entertainment lawyer and it is fair to you, whether or not you are in the guild. Remember that we're fighting really about the fact that, writers are just as important. Most of the people who said they were going to scab, I don't quite believe that they will actually go to larger companies, because I'm not quite sure that they understand that the industry is the industry. It's a business, and the business is going to want to pay you the least amount and keep the most amount for themselves, because that's just how you make billions at a company. After you break in, even if you're breaking in not through the Writers Guild, which happens all the time, you are going to get to the point where you grow so big that you will have potentially an option to go into the Writers Guild. If we don't sort this out now, we're going to have lots of problems in the future when you actually have broken into the industry and things have still not changed. Now, the thing that most people have not come to realize is understanding the trends. The last time there was something like this kind of strike happening, we picked up lots of foreign films, we picked up lots of documentaries, and we also picked up lots of other things that did not include screenwriters. So if you think that this is going to stop them in their tracks, they can go for quite a while before they actually realize that they kind of need us back to start writing television again. And you better believe that everything will be picked up except for new writers, because new writers still have to have a proven track record. There still needs to be something that says that you are the chosen one and that your writing deserves to be on TV, that it is developed enough to get there, and that they can take a chance and reap back the money that they're going to put into your project. They have to know that they're going to get a return off of your content. And for the most part, every single writer that I have come across, including myself, has thought that they had the greatest new original thing. And most of the time, what I've heard from people who are reading the content, it is not all that unique and that special. I'm so sorry to have to say that, but it is nice to be a little bit more honest about it, because even my writing is not there. Doesn't mean that it won't get there if you keep working on it. I hope that you see the ripple effects that come from the industry and the WGA strike. And I will see you on the next one, scribes.